What is your weakness? What is your weakness? I mean, that's a big question. You're going to get that question in some form in almost every interview you go to. You go to a job interview, they're going to ask you this question in some way, shape, or form. And once again, the principle underlying this question is that you are making a first impression. And the moment you start telling them how bad you are at things, that's ruined. You're making a bad first impression. If they invite you down to a job interview, and this is the first time they're meeting you, and they say, so tell me, what is your weakness, or what's your greatest weakness? And you say, I'm always late for everything, or I can't do this type of work, or I can't do math. I never learned math properly. It's been a big problem for me. Whatever your weakness is, I have a terrible temper. I get very angry when things don't go my way, and that's gotten me into a heap of trouble. The moment you say this stuff, you lose. Because they have a reason on a plate, signed, sealed, and delivered to eliminate you from the running. And another candidate that did not fall into this trap, who didn't say anything really bad about themselves, they unfortunately have the advantage. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to entrap you with this question. So how do we answer, what is your weakness, if somebody asks you that in a job interview? Now, the thing that I've advocated for before, and this is not original to me, I got this from a real top executive recruiter many years ago when they were coaching me. And they were saying the way to answer that question that's really good is to give a bad thing, but it's perfectly understandable because it's a side effect of something that you do that's actually really good. So for example, you could say, well, I make the occasional mistake. I'm not 100% perfect. Occasionally I make a mistake, but that's because I work really fast. There are some people that work really slow and they triple check everything, but they work slow. I was the fastest employee in my group. I put out the most work orders or the most units that we process, whatever it was. But once in a blue moon, I occasionally make a mistake. I feel really bad about it and I take it very seriously. So it gives you an excuse to talk about something great that you do. And no one blames you if you choose the weakness correctly. Nobody blames you for it because it's perfectly understandable given your strength. If you're in a management position, the default answer is to say, I hate firing people. I'm not really great at firing people. And that's understandable because the only people that love firing people and don't mind at all are psychopaths. So that's perfectly understandable. But for the worker level, where you don't have to hire and fire people, just give a weakness that's a side effect of something you do that's great. And it's even better if you can then say how you address the weakness. So for example, you put all this together and you say, I occasionally make the odd mistake. That's my weakness. I'm not 100% perfect. But it's because I work very hard. I produce more output than almost every other employee in every group I've been. So I take pride in that. And what I have found is that if I do make a mistake and someone notices it, I always go back and I fix my own mistakes once it's brought to my attention. So in the end, it doesn't really have that much of an impact on my work in general. People get a lot of output and they get good output. So, I'm just making this example off the top of my head. I'm making it up, but you get the idea. So something bad, but it's understandable as a side effect of something really good that you're telling them about that you do. And as an added bonus, you can say how you address the thing that's bad, you minimize it or you manage it so that it never ends up being a problem. And that's a great way to answer that question. How would you answer the question, why should we not hire you? Thanks, Bill, you are the best. Well, thank you very much, Peter. That's very kind of you. Well, that's another form of saying, what's your weakness? That's another rephrasing of the question, what is your weakness? What's something bad about you that you consider bad? So why should we not hire you? That's asking exactly the same thing. Now, I just answered that question a moment ago. It's the same answer to that question as if they asked you, what is your weakness? So not to totally repeat myself, but about 5 minutes ago, I told a story of how I would say something to the effect of, I make the occasional mistake. When I'm processing work orders or patient files or construction plans or whatever it is you do, when I'm performing them, I occasionally make a mistake. I am not 100% perfect, and I regard that as a big weakness. But it's because I process these things really quickly, and it's because I maintain the most output of anyone in my group. And what I've learned over the years is that if I work in such a way, before I hand in this stack of work orders, I tell the person who's my boss or some other person in the office, before you mail these out, just give them a once over, make sure that I've included everything. And if you ever see something, let me know. And that's happened a couple of times, and they've caught the mistakes that I made, and then I can fix them. So it ends up not being a problem. Now, obviously, if I wasn't making this up off the top of my head, it would be a lot more coherent and it would flow better. But something like that. So that's your answer to why should we not hire you?